Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the most profound truths, the deepest currents shaping our world, they're kind of hiding in plain sight.
hmm They influence us in ways we rarely even recognize. It's like an unseen foundation, maybe?
Exactly, beneath everything we experience.
And quite often these hidden connections are far older, more widespread, and, well, certainly more fascinating than we ever imagined, just quietly weaving through cultures and centuries.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we're going to explore today. We're embarking on a deep dive into Sufism, a mystical teaching, a way of life that remarkably has had this huge yet largely unrecognized impact.
Yeah, on both the East and West. And for, what, 4,000 years? It's staggering.
It really is.
Our deep dive today is primarily drawn from a foundational work on Sufism. It includes a really insightful introduction by Robert Graves.
Oh, the renowned Robert Graves, yeah.
Right. And it brilliantly distills the essence of this often, let's say, enigmatic tradition through the writings of Idris Shah.
Okay, so our mission is, well, pretty simple. We want to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from these sources, maybe uncover some truly surprising facts.
And give you a real shortcut, perhaps, to understanding this profound, often misunderstood subject.
Exactly. Get ready for some genuine aha moments, I think, and maybe a fresh, perhaps even radically different perspective on what truth and learning can actually mean.
Sounds good.
So let's start with the big question. When we talk about Sufism, what is it at its core? Because the sources make a pretty bold claim right off the bat.
They really do. Sufis themselves believe it's not a religion, as in one among many,
Right.
but that it is religion, the underlying secret tradition behind all religious and philosophical systems.
Wow. So the inner core, the universal essence.
That's the idea, rather than just another sector by denomination.
That's a truly foundational claim. And it connects directly, it seems, to their view of human potential. They talk about conscious evolution. Can you elaborate on what that truly means in their context? Is it just like self-improvement or something more?
Oh, it's far more. They believe that with, focused intention and practice, you can actively develop new human capacities.
Oh.
Things that are currently dormant, like a muscle you never knew you had.
Oh, okay.
Imagine not just learning to read, but actually developing a new way of seeing information, or maybe even a new sense altogether. That's conscious evolution. The idea that humans can, by an effort of will, originate faculties like, say, mental telepathy or prophecy, implying essentially a limitless perfectibility of man.
So it's about unlocking what's already within us, but maybe dormant. Now, it's widely associated with Islam, right?
It is.
But the sources indicate Sufis explicitly state they are not just a Muslim sect. How do they see their relationship to organized religion?
Well, that really challenges our typical categories, doesn't it?
It does.
They're described as being at home in all religions. It's sort of similar to how free and accepted Masons will lay out whatever sacred book, be it the Bible, Quran, Torah, is accepted by the temporal state.
Okay.
For Sufis, Islam is considered merely the shell of Sufism.
The shell.
Yeah, the outer layer that protects the inner teaching, but it's not the teaching itself. They see the Prophet Muhammad as a kind of Sufi-style figure, emphasizing respect for all people of a book.
Interesting. So if they're at home in all religions and don't claim one faith exclusively, how do they even, exist without any formal structure? The sources mention an almost complete lack of formalism.
That's the fascinating part, isn't it? Because Sufism isn't about rigid external forms or dogma or fixed places of worship.
No sacred cities, no monasteries.
None of that. They even dislike inclusive names, preferring to refer to themselves as, we friends or people like us. They accept Sufi merely as a nickname, much like Quaker.
Huh, we friends. I like that.
And this avoidance of rigid structure prevents doctrinal conformity, allowing for a more fluid, adaptive form of spiritual growth.
Okay, so if there's no formal membership, no hierarchy, how do these friends or people like us actually recognize each other?
Well, they recognize one another by certain natural gifts, habits, qualities of thought. It's described as a mutual recognition that, as the sources put it, cannot be explained in ordinary moral or psychological terms.
Meaning?
The implication being that if you truly understand this recognition, you are yourself a Sufi. There are no hierarchical degrees, just this undisputed recognition of greater or lesser capacity.
Like an inner resonance.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
And Robert Graves, in his introduction, makes a really intriguing observation about this. He suggests that the natural Sufi might be just as common in the West as in the East.
He does. Graves says such a person could be anyone, a general, a merchant, a lawyer, a schoolmaster.
Even a housewife.
Exactly.
Mm.
Their ideal is to be in the world, but not of it.
Meaning free from ambition, greed, intellectual pride,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Right? Free from blind obedience to custom or awe of those higher in rank. It's about an internal state of being, really, not an external label or position you hold.
That makes a lot of sense, connecting to the idea of an inner path. If Sufism isn't about formal rituals or external structures, what is their way? How do Sufis actually practice or, achieve this enlightenment?
Well, while they do respect religious rituals for social harmony, their approach is to broaden the doctrinal basis of those rituals.
How so?
They redefine myths in a higher symbolic sense. For instance, angels aren't necessarily literal winged beings, but representations of man's higher faculties. It's about finding deeper meaning within existing frameworks.
So seeing beyond the literal to
Yes.
a more profound truth within, and instead of withdrawing, like becoming a hermit or a monk, you're offered a secret garden. What's that about?
Precisely. The individual devotee is offered this secret garden, metaphorically speaking, for the growth of understanding, without being required to withdraw from the world. This is because Sufi enlightenment comes from actual experience, not from philosophic argument. As they say, he who tastes knows.
He who tastes knows. I like that. It's experiential, not theoretical. You have to live it.
You got it. You have to live it to understand it.
And what's the driving force behind this conscious evolution you mentioned? It's not asceticism or pure intellect, is it?
No, it's actually kind of surprising.
Huh?
It's love. The earliest known theory of conscious evolution, which is of Sufi origin, applies directly to the individual. The child's progress to adulthood is seen as merely one stage.
Just a stage.
Yeah, stage in developing more spectacular powers for which the dynamic force is love, not harsh self-denial, not cold intellectual pursuit. Love.
This concept of love, it's beautifully expressed by figures like Ibn al-Arabi, the master poet.
Oh, definitely. Ibn al-Arabi lived around 1165-1240 and famously wrote, I follow the religion of love. His devotion is described in a poetic sense, almost like a perfect devotion to a muse. And what's truly fascinating, and a connection most people would never make, is the later influence of this love theme on the ecstatic cult of the Virgin Mary in parts of Europe.
Really? How so?
Particularly in those areas that fell strongly under Sufic influence, maybe after the Crusades. Mary's veneration became much more prominent, much more, ecstatic. It hints at a shared spiritual language bubbling up.
That's a profound revelation, that blending of cultures. It makes me wonder, though, if Sufism is so understated, so non-formal, how did its ideas spread so widely? How did they leave such a clear trail?
Well, this is where the secret language comes in.
Okay.
Poets were the chief disseminators of Sufi thought. They used a secret language of metaphorical reference and verbal cipher. As Nizami the Persian Sufi writes, under the poet's tongue lies the key of the treasury.
Under the poet's tongue lies the key of the treasury. Wow. A secret language to protect their ideas. I can see how that would prevent accusations of heresy, especially if your ideas were outside the mainstream.
Exactly. Ibn al-Arabi himself used this defense, didn't he? Claiming his poems were metaphorical when he was accused of nonconformity.
Right.
And in its most advanced form, this language uses Semitic consonantal roots to both conceal and reveal meanings simultaneously. It's incredibly sophisticated, a true linguistic art form.
Okay, so we're talking layers of meaning. And then there's the truly surprising revelation about a very popular collection of stories. One many of us grew up with.
You mean the 1001 Nights?
Yes. That collection almost everyone knows.
Right, but to say it's Sufic in content, and that its Arabic title, Alf Layla wa Layla, is actually a code phrase meaning mother of records. Well, that's a mind-bending shift, isn't it?
It completely changes how you think about those stories. What does that imply? How much hidden wisdom might be woven into popular culture right under our noses?
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
And this idea of secret language and symbolism seems to pop up in really unexpected places, even in ancient Western traditions, like take the Druids and their sacred mistletoe.
Mistletoe, how does that connect?
Well, the sources suggest a profound Sufic symbolism here. Mistletoe is described as a tree that is no tree, because it self-engrafts on existing religions, you see.
Oh, okay.
It stays green when the tree, meaning the formalistic religion, is dormant or asleep, and its growth is driven by love.
Interesting, like a perennial wisdom.
Exactly. And the burning bush in the east, the acacia, glorified by Locanthus, is seen as an Eastern equivalent to this symbolism.
And it goes even deeper into Western art and mythology, doesn't it? The Irish muse goddess Bridget, for example. She was threefold.
Yes. presiding over poetry, healing, and handicraft, mirroring Ibn al-Arabi's threefold muse concept.
And there's actual physical evidence, too, like that Celtic cross.
Absolutely striking proof. A 9th century Celtic cross actually bears the Arabic formula, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, on a Celtic cross.
Yep. It's not just cultural borrowing. It's a clear physical link showing how integrated these traditions could become. It demonstrates Sufism's consistency with both religions, in a way.
When we connect this to the broader historical picture, the Saracen influence in the West, particularly Spain and Sicily, suddenly becomes much clearer.
Definitely. After their conquest in the 8th century, Spain and Sicily just blossomed into these vibrant centers of Muslim civilization.
And northern scholars flocked there.
Yes. But crucially, they weren't primarily after Orthodox Islamic doctrine. They were seeking Sufi literature and scientific treatises. That was the cutting edge of knowledge at the time.
Right. And the troubadours, those medieval European poets of chivalry and romance. We often associate them with courtly love, but their origins, according to these sources,
Like Saracen, yeah.
not Latin troubadour.
No. The link is more likely to the Arabic root TRB, meaning lutenist or singer. It highlights that these Sufi specialties, poetry, romance, music, dance, were often disliked by Orthodox authorities in both Islam and Christianity.
Yet they flourished and spread, carrying these deeper messages.
Exactly.
Okay, this next connection really caught my attention. King James I of Aragon. He captured Majorca from the Saracens in 1229 and chose a bat as his emblem, which, is traditionally kind of ill-omened in Christian usage. What's the hidden story there?
It was a real puzzle for historians for a long time.
Yeah.
But James was educated in le bon saber, or wisdom, by the Knights Templars,
Ah, the Templars.
who were themselves accused of collaboration with Saracen Sufis during the Crusades. Robert Graves speculated the bat might have been a subtle signal
A signal to whom?
to James's local Moorish allies, presumably Sufis, indicating his schooling in their wisdom. The sources suggest the meaning is encoded in the bat's Latin name, Vespertilio, which hints at Arabic roots.
Arabic roots. In a Latin name.
It's complex, but yes. NMR, meaning tiger or unimpaired honor, and JML, meaning camel or elegance. The symbolic message being something like, under this divine source of Sufic blessedness, the unimpaired honor of the wool-clad, a term for Sufis, overcomes mere elegance or conventional power.
Wow. A secret handshake hidden in plain sight on a royal emblem.
Pretty much, yeah. A level of coded communication you just wouldn't expect.
And the hidden connections don't stop there, do they? There's a surprising link between Sufism and Freemasonry.
Yes, Richard Burton, the famous translator of the 1001 Nights.
Right. Him again?
He was himself both a Freemason and a Sufi, and he was the first to really note the relation. But Idries Shah takes it further. He shows that Freemasonry actually began as a Sufi group.
Really? How?
Using the metaphor of the re-edification or rebuilding of spiritual man from his ruined state, and the three working instruments you see displayed on modern Masonic lodges.
The square compasses.
They represent three postures of prayer.
No way. And the builders honored by Freemasons. The architects of King Solomon's Temple, Buz, and Solomon, son of David.
According to Shah, they were actually Sufi architects who built the Dome of the Rock on the ruins of that temple. Their real names were Thubn Abdel Faiz and Maruf.
Maruf, whose Sufic code name was Solomon because he was considered the son of David.
Exactly. It completely recontextualizes the origins of a global organization.
It really does. It's a completely different understanding. And this idea of secret societies getting offshoots of Sufi circles, it also extends to the Colemen.
Right. The Colemen were a Sufi circle, the Femia, meaning perceivers, and the Italian secret society, the Carbonari, or charcoal burners.
And somewhere.
There's a deep, almost linguistic connection. It's revealed through language again, a classic Sufi technique.
Okay, how does this one work?
The Arabic word, fi-hm, from the Semitic root fhm, means to understand, perceive. But a homonym using a different Arabic H sound also means coalman or charcoal dealer.
Ah, so the perceivers are the Colemen.
And the Femia members would put charcoal on their faces in ritual. Freemasons are even called charcoal burners in some Arabic dictionaries.
And the Carbonari connection.
Their smallest unit was the baraka, or hut, while for the Sufi Coleman, baraka was a word for a meeting or blessing.
Baraka.
Close, very close. And if you think about it, maybe the tradition of chimney sweeps with their sooty faces kissing brides in England, or the El Aswad, the black man figure in some European witchcraft rites.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they all echo this hidden lineage.
Absolutely fascinating. All these seemingly disparate cultural threads just woven together by this hidden language and practice. Okay, one more phrase. Seek knowledge, even as far as China. That's a common Sufi slogan, right? But it's not just literal travel.
Not at all, no. China, in this context, is actually a code word
For what?
for mind concentration.
Yeah.
Which is an essential prerequisite for Sufic development.
It's an inward journey.
Exactly. It's about inner work, not necessarily crossing continents.
That shifts the whole meaning of that phrase, doesn't it? So if knowledge is so subtly encoded, how do Sufis actually teach? And what does this tell us about the nature of knowledge itself?
That's a crucial question.
Mhm.
Look at Roger Bacon, often called the pioneer of the method of knowledge gained through experience.
Right.
He actually learned from Sufis that there's a crucial difference between just collecting information and knowing things through actual experiment, or rather, experience.
And he even quoted a Sufi authority in his Opus Maius, didn't he? Something like, argument brings conclusions, but it does not cause certainty unless this is provided by experience.
Exactly. So for them, experience was the key to certainty, not just logical deduction.
Modern science.
Well, in the Sufi view, modern science took a divergent path. While it embraced experiment, it often kept the experimenter outside, detached.
Right. Objective observation.
But for Sufis, experience is a deeper internal knowing. It's a transformation that happens within the experiencer.
This often leads to the Sufi contention that humanity itself is what? Asleep? Or living in a wrong world? We can see this illustrated so powerfully in that Sufic fable of the islanders.
Oh, that's a great one. This fable describes the LR people who came from a perfect homeland to a rough island.
And they changed.
Yeah, they underwent this gradual transformation, forgetting their past, with coarser perceptions replacing finer ones. And the secret to escaping this island, to returning home, was maritime skills learning to swim and build ships.
Okay, it makes sense, but then...
But then, a rebel emerged. Someone exploiting people's desire to avoid hard work, He promised that there was no need for a ship at all. He claimed they could attain anything by common sense without the effort of real training.
And his challenge to the instructors.
He challenged them.
Yep.
Show us.
Is unanswerable.
Unanswerable.
Because the ships never returned to the island as ships. They'd reached a new dimension of reality. And any swimmers who did return were invisible because they'd undergone a fresh adaptation that made them imperceptible to the unawakened crowd.
Oh.
It highlights the profound difficulty of perceiving true progress or understanding for those who are, asleep and stuck in their limited perceptions.
That fable of the islanders really paints a vivid picture of humanity being asleep, doesn't it? But if so many are asleep, how do the Sufis actually teach? How do they awaken people? What kind of methods do they use to sort of jolt us into a different mode of perception?
Well, this is where the wisdom of figures like Mulla Nasrudin becomes incredibly insightful.
Nasrudin. Right. The wise fool or the foolish sage.
Exactly. He's a brilliant Sufi teacher who often plays the part of the unenlightened man, using humor and absurdity to bypass the logical mind and deliver profound truths directly.
Like the story of the man falling from a roof onto Nasrudin breaks Nasrudin's neck, but the other man is fine.
Right. And when asked what he learned, Nasrudin replies, "He fell, but my neck is broken."
It's so simple, yet it hits you.
Exactly. It illustrates the importance of avoiding belief in inevitability in theoretical questions, focusing on the actual immediate experience. Theory says he fell, he should be hurt. The reality is my neck is broken. It jolts you out of abstract thinking.
And there's the famous story of Nasrudin the smuggler, crossing the frontier daily with his donkey loaded with straw.
Always inspected, never caught.
And years later,
He revealed he was smuggling donkeys.
smuggling the donkeys themselves.
Yeah. This story emphasizes that preternatural experience and the mystical goal is something nearer to mankind than is realized. Our ignorance often assumes such things must be far off or incredibly complicated.
But they might be right under our noses.
If only we knew what to look for.
His brilliant trick with the king and the gallows. That perfectly encapsulates the idea of relative truth, doesn't it?
It really does. Nasrudin, facing the gallows for supposedly lying, declares he's going to be hanged.
And the captain says he doesn't believe him.
Right. So Nasrudin replies, "If I have told a lie, hang me." but that would make it the truth. It just forces you to see that what people call truth is relative to their situation. Until you grasp this, no real progress can be made. It makes you question your own assumptions about truth.
He even teaches about the constant change in techniques. There's a story where he was saved from falling into a pool, but later jumps in himself, saying, "Now I am as wet as I would have been if I had never met you."
That's a great one. It illustrates that Sufi practice avoids repetitious systems. It recognizes the constant change and limit to the usefulness of any particular technique.
What works once might not work again.
Exactly. You can't just follow a fixed recipe for enlightenment.
And the apple from paradise story. Nasrudin offers a half-bad apple.
Saying it's as near to a heavenly apple as you will ever get.
What's the teaching there?
It teaches that to penetrate into another dimension of cognition, we have to adjust to the way of understanding of that dimension. Our current faculties, our current perceptions, they limit our ability to comprehend higher truths. You can't grasp the divine with only earthly senses, so to speak.
Even what seems like a simple joke, like the salt and wool story with the donkey, has a deeper technical meaning.
Oh, it does, and it's quite clever. Remember, when the donkey's salt load dissolves in the stream, it gets frisky, lighter.
And Nasrudin gets angry.
Right. So next time, he loads it with wool, which absorbs water and almost drowns the poor donkey. He triumphantly says, that'll teach you to think you gain something every time you go through water.
Okay, so like a simple lesson.
But wait, in Sufi terms, salt, mill, is a homonym for being good, wisdom.
Ah.
So when the donkey, representing man, sheds its burden of general goodness or wisdom by becoming lighthearted, it feels better maybe, but it loses its sustenance.
It's wisdom.
Right. And the wool is another word for Sufi. So the wool trip represents the Sufi path itself, which can feel heavy initially. He was actually teaching about the consequences of trying to escape the burdens of wisdom versus truly embracing the Sufi journey.
That's brilliant. It's like a riddle wrapped in a joke. And finally, his short, almost absurd joke. How do you know it is me when walking into a shop?
It's so simple, but it highlights a core Sufi contention.
Yeah.
Nobody automatically knows who he really is, despite our conventional belief, our fiction that we do.
Or we think we know ourselves, but do we truly?
That's the question these stories are designed to provoke, to jolt the mind into a different mode of perception, a moment of self-inquiry.
This all ties beautifully into that anecdote of the young Western intellectual seeking truth in India. He meets a Sufi sheikh. He's studied everything, philosophy, religion.
But still feels lost, yeah. The sheikh explains that humanity is largely asleep, assessing things by preconceived ideas.
Right.
And for the Sufi, the apparent is the bridge to the real.
Meaning
all rituals and symbols originally had meaning, even if that meaning has been lost or distorted over time. It's about recovering the deeper truth behind the forms, not just discarding them.
So it's not about rejecting symbols, but understanding their true original purpose. The sheikh also tells the seeker, quite pointedly, you cannot use the instruments of carpentry for watchmaking. You cannot judge.
Exactly. You have to detach from both your intellect and your emotion to truly perceive. The sheikh introduces the idea of a true intellect below the conditioned intellect.
A deeper intellect.
Yeah, the organ of comprehension, responsible for human evolution. But it can't be taken on trust. You have to experience it, feeling it as a truth, different in quality from other truths. It's a knowing that resonates deep inside.
And the sheikh illustrates this with really simple analogies, like the everyday act of buying soap.
Right. He explains that every action, like every word, has an effect and a place. This is the basis of the Sufi system without a system. The Sufi moves with an inner awareness of meaning that others miss. Every seemingly mundane act can be a conscious step on the path.
And then there's that poignant crutch analogy. A man's injured leg needed a crutch.
But it became universally adopted and valued, even after the injury healed. People started using crutches even if they didn't need them.
Because it became the norm.
Exactly. This powerfully illustrates how what was useful becomes a burden. The need to shed old assumptions, old tools for growth. True learning requires letting go of what once served you, even if it feels comfortable, to make room for new understanding.
It sounds like a constant process of reevaluating everything you think you know, of maintaining a kind of dynamic balance.
It is. And the Sufi doctrine emphasizes equipoise, the need for balance between extremes. The Western seeker, for example, brings assumptions about their capacity to learn, maybe too much intellectual pride,
While the Eastern mind
might submit too completely, too passively. True learning, the sheikh explains, comes from observing the Sufi teacher as a human exemplar,
A role model.
Yes, whose actions and sayings become the bridge to understanding, but not through mere imitation. It happens through inner perception, through that tasting we talked about earlier.
What an incredible journey into the unseen world of Sufi influence. We've covered Sufism as this universal experiential path, its surprising historical and cultural influences that seem to permeate our own traditions, often without us knowing.
Yeah, those hidden connections are everywhere.
And its incredibly unique practical approach to knowledge and self-transformation, using everything from poetry to jokes.
It truly shows how deeply Sufi thought has permeated various aspects of our world, often without us ever realizing the subtle, profound connections. It's quite something.
It really is. And that brings us to our final thought for you to maybe mull over. Remember that Sufi dictum, the apparent is the bridge to the real.
Key takeaway.
So consider how everyday experiences, objects, or even seemingly simple stories in your own life might contain deeper, hidden truths, just waiting to be perceived. Perhaps all it takes is learning to, taste and experience beyond mere intellectual understanding or those preconceived notions we all have. So the question is, what hidden bridges exist in your own life waiting for you to cross into maybe a different dimension of understanding?